call the Township of Rockaway special meeting, December 30th, 2025 to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moment of silence to remember the service and sacrifices of the armed service members who protect our nation and the first responders who protect our neighborhoods. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Freelander.
Here.
Councilman Sackett.
Here.
Councilman Quinn.
Here.
Councilman Brooks.
Here.
Councilwoman Noon.
Here.
Councilman Salberg.
Here.
Councilman Vojtovich. Council Vice President Brooks.
Here.
Council President Morrison.
Here. Notice of this meeting was sent to the Daily Record and the official newspaper for the Township of Rockaway in compliance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act. Additionally, notice was posted on the Township website, the official bulletin boards of Rockaway, and filed in the office of the Township Clerk. At this point, I'd like to invite Mr. Novak.
Good evening, everybody.
Just a quick intro on who you are and
Absolutely.
what you do.
Good evening, everybody. My name is David Novak. That's Novak. I am a professional planner with Burgess Associates, the township planning consultant. I think we've been with Rockaway since 1995 or so. I've been working with you guys since 2011. Tonight, I'm here to talk to you about the draft settlement agreement regarding affordable housing. I feel like every time you guys see me, it usually has to do something with affordable housing, so I apologize for that. If you recall, about a year and a half ago, the state adopted new affordable housing legislation for the fourth round of affordable housing that covers the years 2025 to 2035. And essentially, towns need to come up with strategies to address their fair share of affordable housing. This has been a multi-step process. I believe I was back in front of you guys in April or May of this year discussing what we thought our prospective need or fourth round obligation was, which was 301 affordable units. That was accepted by the court. Following that process, we had prepared a housing element and fair share plan that was adopted by the planning board. It was endorsed by the council on time. And following that, for Rockaway and for every municipality, there was a 2-month period where anybody could object to that housing element and fair share plan. It could be a developer, it could be a nonprofit agency, so on and so forth. Some towns had up to 19 objectors. Rockaway had one objector. That objector was Fair Share Housing Center. You are not special necessarily in that regard. Fair Share objected to about 400 municipalities across the state. What was a little bit of special about the objection is that they wanted the court to strip away Rockaway's immunity. So as a little bit of a background, part of the reason that we do this is because the state has adopted this legislation, which requires municipalities to figure out where very low and moderate income households are going to be placed. The reason municipalities do it as well is because if they don't have a protected plan and a certified plan, you lose what's called immunity, which means that the municipality is subject to what's called a builder's remedy lawsuit, wherein a developer can come in, find a piece of land that they like and say, hey, Rockaway, you don't have a protected plan. You're not protected by the court. I found this nice piece of property. I'm going to sue you to develop multifamily here with a set aside for affordable housing. So what the protection does with this housing plan process is that it gives you zoning certainty. So you are immune from builder's remedy. For whatever reason, we never really got into it. Fair Share wanted to strip away the township's immunity. But I can say through the negotiation process set up through the program is the dispute resolution program that was adopted by the legislation, which involves a special judge who's retired, a special adjudicator who's a professional planner, and they try to mediate and bring the two sides together so that way we can avoid court. Through that process, we were able to come up with a settlement agreement with Fair Share Housing Center. Essentially, and I won't go through the entire settlement agreement, but what that settlement does is that it requires us to rezone one piece of property. And when I say rezone, I mean replace the underlying zoning district. And that was block 22102, lot 5.02. If you are familiar with where the barn is along Green Pond Road, it's right behind that. Yeah, it was a property that was approved for a hotel many years ago, back in 2005. It was never built. That actually remains the same. That was in our housing plan from this time. You will see on that little handout I gave you a blank piece of property right next to that. We had originally proposed rezoning that property. After consultation with our special adjudicator and the Highlands Council, we found that that property really more than likely cannot be developed for multifamily purposes. So our original housing plan had that property being rezoned as well. That's been removed. So the property you see in blue will be a new zoning district that will remain the same as our adopted housing plan. We're making 3 additional changes in terms of what we call overlay zoning. So an overlay zone is essentially a zone on top of a zone. So imagine a lot of us in Rockaway Township live in the R13 district. That allows for single family dwellings. It establishes your front yard, side yard, rear yard setback, all of that. What an overlay zone is a zone placed on top of that zone, which gives developers an additional development option. The reason a lot of developers like this or property owners like this and the way it's accepted by the court is that it maintains that underlying zoning right. So you'll see next to the property in blue, block 22102 lot 2, there's a red overlay zone on there. That site is presently developed with an industrial building. It's located in the I industrial zone. With this overlay zone, that building will be allowed to remain as is. It can operate as is. A new tenant can move in. It does not become a non-permitted use. What it does is that it creates a new development option. And that overlay zone would allow for 53 total units there, including 11 affordable units. One other new component is, if you flip over your little map page, block 11001, lot 12.01. This is located right next to the Rockaway Mall, wedged between that and the Walmart site. This will be another overlay zone, which again preserves that underlying office zoning, would allow that office zone to continue, but would allow for another multifamily residential option. And then finally, in our third round plan, which we adopted back in 2020, I believe it was, we adopted an overlay zone on top of the mall that would allow for residential. That's remaining the same. That overlay district allows for a density of 2.2 units per acre. We're going to increase that to 2.9 units per acre, which would allow for an additional development opportunity there. Really, we're getting additional 29 affordable units. So through the settlement agreement process, we need to rezone one new property, develop 2 new overlay zones, and then tweak the density requirement of an existing overlay zone. If we do that, as well as follow the rest of the settlement agreement, we'll have an additional protection. The next step after this would be signing a resolution and the settlement agreement. We have a court session tomorrow already scheduled for 1 o'clock. Happy New Year's Eve to me. And if that goes well, the next step would be then preparing a revised housing element and fair share plan, as well as new ordinances, and that would need to get adopted in mid-March of next year. So it's a complicated process. It has not been the most fun process, but that's essentially where we're at now.
All right. So at this point, we'll start down at this end and work our way down and ask whatever questions we have.
So by doing this, we get to keep our immunity.
That's correct.
That's the main thing we need. All right. Thank you.
I guess maybe just a little further explanation on 643 units within the mall property.
Yeah, so that's essentially what we would call floating density. So the entirety of that tract, looking at the boundary of those red lines, would be about 222 acres altogether, which is why that density is so low, 2.2 to 2.9. The way we crafted that redevelopment, or that overlay zone originally, and we would maintain that, is that really those units could be placed anywhere. When we first contemplated that design back with the third round, we were assuming that a lot of the the surrounding parking lots, especially the ones that are somewhat underutilized now, those would be the prime spots to be redeveloped. Technically, those units could go anywhere. We would just need to see what it would be like any other application. Site plan would have to come through, showing where those buildings would be located, how parking would be handled, requiring still some sort of non-residential ground floor area, so that way we maintain it rateable there. but it really gives the option. It would allow for either those outbuildings to be placed there on underutilized parking areas. If they were to contemplate maybe changing some of the anchor stores or adding units above the mall, it allows for that flexibility. So we don't really dictate where those units go. We just outline that big box and say it can go here somewhere.
Have we ever been approached by any developers for a plan like this?
No. And one of the other things I should have brought up too is that we were not approached by any developer during this process. That includes the mall site or anywhere else within Rockaway Township.
Once this is approved in March, does this end?
No, never.
Never.
No, after that, there will be certain monitoring requirements. There's going to be a midway report to see whether or not anything's been built or if anything's still viable.
But the number is not going to change.
The
Like,
number will not
That's
change.
what I'm
yeah.
asking.
Yeah, and the number will not change until 2035 when we do this again. Hopefully, I'll have won the lottery by that point. But
Got it. All right. Thank you.
All right. So since they wanted to take away our immunity for something that we did 4 years ago.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So is there anything built into this agreement for tomorrow that stops them from doing that in the future?
no.
No?
That's an opportunity that they always retain. It would likely not be brought up again until 2035.
Okay.
And the whole discussion of immunity and their threat to strip that was not even brought up. So quite frankly, I don't even know if they really did a lot of research before they did that.
Okay.
But no, it's tough to build that into a settlement agreement. I don't think they would ever agree to it anyway.
But they can't bring it up again until 2035.
That's correct. From my understanding, that's my correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right. Thank you.
You said nobody has approached the town as far as.
Not in a formal way, no. So, for several towns during this process, we've had up to 4 or 5 developers. I think in one of our towns, we had maybe 15 developers file objections because they wanted to get into the plan. We had no developers file any type of formal objection to our plan. Again, for any site contemplated or otherwise. So the only objector that we had was Fair Share Housing Center. That's not to say that we might not ever get approached by a developer who wants to look at a multifamily project, and that would be handled under a normal course. They can request a rezoning from the council, request a pre-meeting, something like that. But in terms of the affordable housing process, there were no formal objections to our plan except from Fair Share Housing Center.
Okay. Now, so since nobody has come to us, could we go, because if you see through the state, all these malls are building, complexes.
Yeah.
And since we're close to, right on 80 and the location is fantastic, could we go to the mall and ask them?
You can always organize a meeting with the representatives. Absolutely. That's something that you can do. It's not required by the settlement agreement. But if that's something that the township wants to do, to have a sit-down meeting with the developers in the mall to see if there's any interest in developing multifamily there, that's absolutely an option that the township could do.
Well, it certainly behooves us to do something like that since they're constantly coming to us for tax relief. So
I live in Fair Lawns. I'm right next to Garden State Mall. and
okay,
everyone's
so
got a large
same
project there.
thing.
Yeah.
They want to make money with their mall. This is another way of doing it.
And that's one of the reasons why we picked this site too, just because I already had the existing infrastructure and was next to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm good. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah, we had on the planning board given them the ability to go ahead and put on the second floor to put housing in and all that, but they've never done it. They've never asked us to do it. So they would have to come back to us anyway.
Right. We're kind of
point.
getting off on
Yeah, so
this is just,
that was FYI.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. The only thing I would request is as soon as possible to sign the settlement agreement in the resolution, because we do have a date in court tomorrow. So
That needs to be physically signed tonight. Okay.
it's already signed.
Got it.
Thank you very much.
Okay. At this point, we'll have open to the public. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak? Please, Mr. Lordy. I do not require a sheet from you today.
No, you don't give a sheet.
Good evening, everybody. Just to add to what was just discussed, Michael Alati, 19 North Brookside Drive. First time this year, I forgot that. I think we should be, as a council and administration, proactive in trying to get a developer to pursue the mall to develop that area,
That's,
not wait for the mall, which doesn't necessarily have an incentive to do that, before we get a developer doing it in a location that's less or more intrusive to the community. Like the barn and Green Pond Road, to put housing there, Green Pond Road's a disaster now. So it'd be much better to put it in a mall, which is underutilized. So if we can get a developer to pursue them instead of waiting for Simon to be proactive, which they're not very proactive most of the time, would probably be better for us. Also, does the town consider the water and sewage effects of this development? Because right now we're still getting notices about one treatment water well being offline. And plus you put in 400 units, that's a lot of extra sewage treatment, stuff like that. You know, is the infrastructure available for that? I know our hands are tied on what the state requires because they don't care. They just want what they want. But something to, you know, plan ahead for. I'd like to thank the road department. Every snowstorm I wake up and the road is blacktop, which you don't see in a lot of towns. I went through Randolph, the roads are all snow covered. It's amazing what they do. However, if we can have, when the police are driving around after a snowstorm, when people snow blow straight into the street, I mean, you can get a little bit of snow in there when you're making a turn, but I've driven past several houses where they just blow it into the street and you got 60 feet of snow in the street because they choose to blow it straight into the street. To me, that's a finable offense. The lease agreement, the 99 lease agreement, if something could be explained to what that's about. I know it's the fire thing, but previous meetings spoke about we can't even staff it. But what's the plan for that? And just give a little oversight because there wasn't much in what I've read. And just Happy New Year to everybody. And White Meadow Lake still has New Year's Eve tickets available if anybody's interested.
Thank you. The good-looking gentleman in the back, you wish to speak? Thank you. Okay, we're going to do these resolutions separately. Resolution R25-229, a resolution authorizing the execution of a mediation agreement with the Fair Share Housing Center regarding the fourth round housing element and fair share. Can I have a motion?
So
Make a
moved.
motion.
Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Freelander.
yes,
Councilman Sackett.
Yes.
Councilman Quinn.
Yes.
Councilman Brooks.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon.
Yes.
Councilman Salberg.
Yes.
Council Vice President Brooks.
Yes.
Council President Morrison.
Yes, it's 8 yeses, motion passes. Before we discuss the next resolution, can we just have a quick primer on that?
Thank you, Council President. Happy New Year, everybody. What you see here is a culmination of a very long wait. Distilling this as quickly as possible, the original developers agreement for Pondview contained the requirement that the developer build a firehouse for the town's use. That was carried through to the amended developers agreement and ultimately to the court action that, and all of this is many years ago. Probably about 3 years ago, we started negotiating with Pondview's attorneys to get this over with, because by that time, and especially today, we need to, even though the firehouse may not immediately be staffable by a fire company, we need it for a bunch of fire department and emergency services related space, okay? And that's what it's going to be initially used for. So what we're asking the council tonight is to approve the lease between the township and the and Pondview. The lease is exactly in accordance with the requirements of the developers agreement, which was that they build the firehouse for us. We are paying, it's a 99-year lease for $1 a year. We're taking over a portion of the property, which is basically circumscribed by buffers on each side of the firehouse, the front access area, the rear access area. That's going to be it. We intend to utilize it immediately. The lease is a normal, even though it's lengthy, essentially it's a normal triple net lease. We've also been advised that the premises are not accessible by our tax assessor. So essentially, we won't be involved in any situation of tax payback that we were with the Norbu agreement. And that's basically it. It's a good lease, and we're asking the council to approve it.
All right, resolution R25-230, a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign a 99-year lease with the owners of the Pond View development applicable to the fire emergency services station that has been constructed on the Pond View property. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Freelander.
Yes.
Councilman Sackett.
Yes.
Councilman Quinn.
Yes.
Councilman Brooks.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon.
Yes.
Councilman Salberg.
Yes.
Council Vice President Brooks.
Yes.
Council President Morrison.
Yes, it's 8 yeses, motion passes. Motion to adjourn by consensus.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.